Hey book lovers, Dawn here. Today I'm going to talk about Telegraph Avenue. I'm filming this before watching Amy's video, so I'm sorry if I bring up any of the same points as her. So as you can see, I have not actually finished this book yet. So I'm going to talk about what I have read. There's a lot of characters, and when I first started reading, I did find myself getting a little bit confused as to who's who. It does get a lot easier as it goes on though, you know, as you get to know the characters more and their personality develops, it's a lot easier to keep them straight in your mind. Which I guess can be said for pretty much any book. I remember, I think I tweeted at Amy when I first started reading it that it was already kind of drawing me in just because of the writing. Like, there's so much really good imagery, like even on the first page, you know, the summertime Berkeley giving off her old lady smell, 9 different styles of jasmine, and a squirt of he-cat. Like, who describes summer like that? But when I read it, I instantly kind of pictured what I was smelling. So really, really good imagery the whole way through like that. Little references to pop culture. For example, the part I'm at right now, Archie is imagining himself as wearing an Iron Man suit, which is kind of cute. You know, things that people are going to pick up on. One weird pop culture reference that I didn't really understand was when Barack Obama shows up. That confused me a lot. I think it's one thing to indirectly reference a real person, like they're talking about Quentin Tarantino movies. You know, that makes sense to me. It's an indirect reference. It places it within the world that we actually live in. But seeing a real person like that as a speaking role in the book seems out of place to me, partially just because I'm worried that it's not going to be an accurate representation of the real person, especially if you've never met this person and you don't know how they talk. It's not often for me that I can read something with so much imagery and still stay focused on the storyline. Sometimes I think people can overuse it and it can pull you away from what's actually happening. But in this book, it seems to actually be tied in fairly well. There were the occasional time when I thought it was a little excessive, but in general, it just builds up the whole picture for me, so I really appreciated that. I'm sorry for jumping all over the place. I just pick whatever topic comes to mind. Let's go back to characters. There were a lot of them, but like I said, as you read more, you got to know them a lot more. So I really liked learning everybody's backstories and learning little bits of information at a time, pulling them all together to build up what really makes the character tick. I thought this was really good in terms of Titus and Julie and their interactions with each other and their backstory. I like the part where Gwen is staying at the Bruce Lee Institute and just all of the thoughts that go through her head. I think she's a little bit crazy and I don't necessarily agree with everything she thinks, but I think that's part of what makes her such a dynamic character. I love that she's having all of these problems and she's trying so hard to work through them, and eventually things kind of collapse and she finds herself lost and not knowing what to do. I think that's a really realistic thing to happen, and I feel like a lot of people go through that, so they can probably relate to her a lot in that way. One minor character that really ticked me off, the guy that they refer to as the Stephen Hawking guy. He's in a wheelchair, he uses a computer program to speak, but for me, I'm someone who's friends with people with disabilities. I've worked with people who have disabilities. I've had really great conversations with people who use computers to speak. So for me, just referring to him as that Stephen Hawking guy felt really degrading and almost offensive. I know that not everyone who reads the story is going to have the same experiences as me. So for them, relating this character to Stephen Hawking is giving them something that they can relate to and understand. But you know, for me, just something that grated on me. Overall, so far, I am enjoying the book. It's not something that I would have picked to read for myself. Sometimes I feel like I'm forcing my way through it, but I always get to a part where I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I'm reading this book. I really love what's happening right now. I'm hoping to reach the end of the book soon. We'll see how that goes. Easter weekend is soon, so I'm gonna do a lot of reading then, because I mean, no class on Friday, woo! What else do I have to do other than read? Well, essays, but shh, don't tell. Before I end the video, I just want to give a bit of a shout out to 58. I think that is A, an awesome name for a bird, and B, I just love that they turned the parrot into such a dynamic character. Like, he's a bird! It's not very often that you have birds as main characters in the novel, but A+. So I'm looking forward to watching everyone's responses, hearing about everyone's responses. Don't worry if you haven't finished the book. I haven't either. I think there's still a lot of great things you can talk about. When I do finish the book, I will probably post a quick update, maybe not as long as this one, just seeing if there's any additional thoughts I had to add on to. Also, stay tuned for April's Book of the Month. We have a couple ideas we're tossing around, and we will get back to you very shortly. Telegraph Avenue.